My name is Paul Thomas, and we will be talking about the 118th Congress and the Supreme Court. With us, Merrick Moses, Judy Donegan, and Pat Chesbro. Okay, something I have noticed about the Supremes, of the 9 justices, 6 are practicing Catholics, and 1 additional, Gorsuch, was raised Catholic. Given the church's position on birth control, gay rights, and other sexually related issues, along with papal infallibility doctrine, how nervous are you about this 7 of 9 statistic? Merrick, I'm not even sure about what your religious affiliation is. How connected are you to Catholicism? I know you're a
Well,
minister, but
yes,
is
I'm
it
an
is
old
it
I'm an old Catholic priest and Benedictine monk. That being said, I am not within the Roman Church. I am an independent old Catholic priest. I belong to the Old Catholic Church, which is a breakaway church from the Vatican over the doctrine of papal infallibility. That being said, I'm not nervous about them being Catholic, right? Because there are different types of Catholics. There are a lot of social justice Catholics. You just don't see us or hear us because most of us are working to feed the poor and help people. That being said, I'm not worried about them being Catholic. What I am concerned about them using their far right beliefs, whether it's dogma, doctrine, or just random Nazi stuff that they believe, to create suffering for millions of people, right? And so I don't know if they're moved by papal bulls or anything like that, but I do know that they are animated by right wing ideology. And I will say this, the folly that I see of many of these right wingers in churches, they dream of this Christian so-called utopia that they think in their minds they're going to birth with the evangelicals. But what they don't realize, once again, is that the evangelicals hate Catholicism, they hate Catholics, and they think we're devil worshippers. When if it goes down and these people create a Christo-fascist state, the evangelicals will literally kick the butts of the Catholics. They will not share power with them at all. So this is a pipe dream for them. Honestly, like this is a fever dream for them on the Supreme Court. They get to, put their dogma chops to work. But at the end of the day, what they don't get is that the evangelicals hate the Catholics, and this is just an alliance of convenience. When it all goes down, the Catholics won't win. And I really would wish they would lean more for social teaching in terms of the good of that which you can do and the rights of people to make decisions about their own body. Because Catholicism does actually recognizes a person's religious conscience. That is a thing they don't talk about, but that is but I mean, you should be deferring to that, but they aren't.
well, that's what you're referring to is what my understanding was came out of Vatican II back in that day. Okay, Judy, I don't know what your religious affiliation is. I know what Pat's is, but how do you feel about all these Supreme Court justices being Catholic? Does that make you nervous at all?
Well, what would make, first of all, I was raised Protestant, Methodist. So, and I'm no longer involved in any church. What makes me nervous, I guess, and I don't know if it's Catholicism or if it's sort of any kind of fundamental Christianity. And I think that like Alito and, well, especially Alito, I think they're very, well, and Amy Coney Barrett, they're very fundamental Catholics, in my opinion, and I'm not up on who's who in the Catholic Church. But what makes me nervous is that they do show a leaning toward, obviously, favoring Christians and favoring the freedom of religion over the clause in the Constitution that prevents the establishment of a religion. So you have a case like the football coach in Washington praying in the midfield in the football field, and having his team feel somewhat required to join him on the 50-yard line with his, what he called a private prayer. I mean, that's ridiculous. And that is, to uphold that as the establishment of religion in that school. And there are lots of cases. There's the Colorado baker, the one that's not decided yet on the web designer who doesn't want to do gay weddings because it offends her religious beliefs. And it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do on that. So the whole tendency toward favoring religion, not religion, Christianity, bothers me. I don't care if they're Catholic or evangelical or whatever they are.
It's just a favoring religion, favoring Christian religion. Yeah. Pat, there's a bill in the Texas legislature now that says that every classroom, every public school classroom in Texas is going to have the Ten Commandments posted. And they even specified the size in which the Ten Commandments are supposed to be posted. And undoubtedly, that's going to go to the Supreme Court as well. So you just understand the question. The question is, are you concerned about Catholics? But I just wanted to throw that in about, they're going hog wild on pushing this religion as the religion of the nation. If they're going to put the Ten Commandments in every classroom, that says it all there, doesn't it?
It says it all there. I was raised Catholic, as you know, and I always thought it was about social justice. I mean, that was kind of what I thought we were about as Catholic.
Well,
but then I see all this other stuff going on, I'm thinking, well, I must have been, and I didn't go to a church that was all that progressive, I don't think, but by golly, I didn't, that was not the message I ever got when I was a kid. The message was social justice, take care of people. That was the Catholic message I got. And this whole switch to this ultra conservative, and I have a relative who is so anti this Pope that he'll choose the church he goes to because he's so anti this Pope being too whatever Christian, I guess. And so it's just a real schism in the church too, I think, perhaps. But so I don't know. I would also say that we have a president who is honestly a practicing Catholic, who's a practicing Catholic, he's a practicing Catholic too. So I don't know.
He goes to mass every Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm so sick of hearing the TV pundits and Democrats in Congress taking a victory lap for the 2020 midterms by stopping the giant red wave when, in fact, of the 139 House Republicans who voted against certifying Biden as president on January 7th, 2021, 124 of them ran for re-election in 2022, and 118 won their races, which is a 96% seditionist victory result. It took me hours scouring the web trying to find those numbers because all the stories prominently on display were how the election deniers, Lake, Cause, Mastriano, etc., all lost. Even with McCarthy, Taylor Greene, and Gates firmly in control of the House chamber, the pundits are still bragging about how the voters stopped the Republicans in the midterms. There was the guy that was from New York who was in head of the congressional committee, the re-election committee. He ended up losing to the Republican, and he was still bragging just the other day on TV about how they stopped the red wave. I get gerrymandering, voter suppression, and all that, but none of it disappeared. The John Lewis voting rights bill is still not the law. Roe is not reality. Dobbs is. The electorate put 96% of the seditionists back in their seats. Isn't the comfort of the 2022 midterms a very misplaced delusion? How much is the electorate to blame for our Orwellian descent into the Gilead landscape? When I look at what happened with this debt limit thing, I say, well, that's because the Republicans were in control of Congress. And the electorate let that happen. So this idea of this great blue wave that stopped the Republicans is just nonsense. Pat, am I wrong here or what?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And you know, we're all to blame. We all were sitting around too long, not recognizing what was going on. And even electing Republicans doesn't mean they have to be the Marjorie Taylor Greene type of Republican. There are Republicans, I don't know where they are anymore, but I think there's Republicans out there that are honest people who are just think differently. But what happened is we let ourselves stop. We let ourselves not try to make it better. And if I've learned anything in my whole life, is if you're not going forward, you're going backward. And so every step forward is going to be a victory. But if we just stop, we'll just skid backward, and we can't do that. And so I don't think we stopped a big red wave. I think we did better than people thought we were going to. But that doesn't mean we're done at all, because the red wave is right out there being toxic.
Yeah, when you look at the first bill that the Republicans put out on the debt limit, that was, I mean, that and they passed it all along party lines. All the Republicans voted for that bill, and it was horrible. Yeah. Judy, you and Pat deserve some credit, because you have one congressperson from Alaska, and that is not a Republican at this point. Yeah. So, what do you think about my thought about this idea that this victory lap that the Democrats are taking is just so misplaced?
Well, if it's going to make us relax, it's really misplaced. Yeah, I hesitate to comment. I don't think I'm doing my part either. But yeah, by the electorate, when I read the question, I'm thinking, do we blame the people who are voting for Republicans, who are misled by Trump, who are in some sort of cult, really, for the way they're voting? And how are those people reached? Maybe you can't change their minds. So we work in the middle. And I agree with Pat. We need to work harder. I have to confess, I'm not doing my part, really.
Oh, I think you're doing fine. I mean, there's only so much you can do. I think we're all trying. Maybe if we tried harder, we'd feel less guilt. Merrick, how guilty do you feel about not doing your part?
I do not feel guilty at all. I have done my part over and over and over again. From political education, from political education in Annapolis, to encouraging my friends to vote, to literally elucidating some of the issues that's going on in community, particularly queer and trans communities, in public and with others. I've done my part over and over and over again. That being said, that the midterms were basically a stalemate, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, there is a portion of the American public that supports this. What we need to I'm going to tell you what it is too. What we need to understand is that the people that's voting for these nut jobs, morons, racists, and Nazis, a lot of them don't tell us how they really vote. We saw that when the Orange Pig got elected in 2016. There were a lot of people who, oh yeah, we'll never do that. And what did they do? They did that. And so we have to understand that there's a good portion of the electorate that are supporting the crazy, because they are the people back in the day that would ride around on a horse with the hood. These aren't these people. These are people that will smile in your face and then go home and use the N word. And then when it's time to cast a ballot, will cast a ballot for the most racist person. Like, these are these people. Okay. And I think that we need to get our heads out of the sand and understand what we're dealing with. And I also think that we should actually um, actually engage these people, because even if they don't change their minds, they may remember what you said. And again, most of this, if we understand the Republican playbook, right, is based on fear. So a lot of these people are already primed with the pump, primed from the pump with Fox News, fearing everything. I don't like Bud Light because they gave some trans girl a 6-pack with her face on it. So let me buy 3 6-packs and shoot at them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, the logic, the synapses, they're not firing correctly, right? But they're voting because they're voting based on their anger, whatever's manufactured outrage, stupidity. A lot of these people do not have a quality education. And I'm not talking about, oh, they're not college educated. I mean, the basics, the ABCs. You got a good portion of that electorate that are questioning what a pronoun is. Why do we need pronouns? Like, it's not part of a basic part of the English language. Like, what's going on with these people? They're undereducated, and a lot of them have been religiously indoctrinated, which means that their ability to think logically has been truncated from when they were young. Because remember now, these people start going to church when they 1-2 years old. Okay, so these are the people that we're dealing with, but they're more of us than there are of them. So part of the other problem is to offset that is people have to vote. You see what I'm saying? And the Democrats are not making it exciting for people to vote. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish people didn't literally have to be entertained to vote, but that's where we are. And so we need to understand who we're dealing with. I think the Democrats should stop trying to get these so-called moderate Republicans. Like, forget these people. Who cares? Focus on the people that are your natural constituency but are not voting because you're doing a bad PR job. Right? And that's where the party needs to go. But I consider the 2020 midterms as a stalemate, actually.
Okay, I want to make one comment on what you said about, engaging people. There are people out there that, you just referred to that may say to your face, oh, I don't believe this, that, and they end up voting for Trump anyway. I do think we need to engage them
and absolutely.
get them into conversations about these issues, but we have to do it respectfully and we have to do it tactfully, and know whenever it's done, the point you're making is made, and what that may do is may plant a seed so they can start thinking. But we should not be backing away from them, but we should still maintain civility and respectability.
I agree, but we need to put some caveats on that, and I'm going to tell you why. Because some of these people are very toxic and dangerous. Like, as a queer trans person, a queer transsexual man, there are some people that I'm just not going to talk to. You know why? Because they're dangerous. And literally people are being bashed right now for walking down the street in gender conformity, right? From right-wingers. So, I hear what you're saying, but we also have to remember not everybody can talk to everyone. So we also have to realize that some of these people are rabidly dangerous. So I just want to put that on this space.
I agree with what you're saying.
If somebody threatens my life, I'm not going to be happy.
Well, if someone threatens your life, you're going to walk away from that person in order to preserve your life. I agree with what you're saying. There are certain people that we cannot reach. We never will be able to reach. I'm talking about the people who want to continue to engage with us, but end up voting for Trump, and I think we need to plant more seeds in their minds. It's been a long game with Citizens United, Shelby v. Holder, and Dobbs in the courts, while bans on abortions and books, along with voter suppression in the states, are producing the desired effect of minority-held values on women's rights, gun violence, overwhelming the will of the vast majority of the American people. Are these two institutions currently working in conjunction with other Republican power bases, such as state legislatures, governors, and courts, finally producing an authoritarian, misogynist, white nationalist, gun toting, discriminatorily oppressive society, restricting freedom all across the land? Is democracy toast? What is your strategy for saving it? All we need to look, Merrick, is Florida. We look at Florida and we see that it's just happening big time down there. So I'm not sure if I was overstating it by asking the question, is democracy toast? But with voter suppression, the way they have it set up, and in Texas, they have now made it so that there is a law that they just passed that said that in Houston, Harris County, I think it's called, that if the election doesn't go their way, they can go in and declare the votes in that Harris County void. So that's pretty scary. Pretty scary. Is democracy toast?
I don't, okay. I think we're on a 50-50 situation. I think that what we need to realize is that this is a major power grab. And we need to do things that will disrupt their madness. So I do believe in the case of Harris County in Texas.
Harris County, yes.
Yeah, right. where Houston is, which is one of the fastest growing areas in Texas and one of the most diverse, and probably the most diverse actually. That I think they've taken that to court, or they're about to take that to court, because clearly that is ridiculous. However, if it goes to the Supreme Court, that's where I get concerned, because at least 6 of those judges believe in voter suppression. They love it. So that's what I'm concerned about. But I'm not surprised at Texas. I'm not surprised at the power grabs. I'm not surprised at, like, you look at states like North Dakota, South Dakota, I think Arkansas, now have loosened child labor laws, because of course a 9-year-old should work in a meat packing plant. You see where this is going, right? And so Americans have to wake up and say no. And that means, like, don't vote for a weirdo like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That's probably not a good idea. It's probably not a good idea, Georgia, to re-elect Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has fits of steroid rage in public. Like, these voters need to understand, okay, you might feel this way, but can we at least get somebody that's competent and someone who's willing to work across the aisle to help the American people? You could be Republican all day, but if you are creating a bill that will provide food banks in every county or whatever, I'm gonna roll with you, because that's what I want. We don't have to agree on everything. However, we can work on some things. And right now, the electorate in certain parts of the country, because they're not doing that, they are promoting ideologues who don't know how to govern. For instance, Lauren Boebert literally got her GED a couple of months before she went to Congress. Is she really qualified to be in Congress? I'm not saying you have to go to college to be in Congress, but she just got her GED. Like, what? This is what we're doing? And so we have to question the electorate, like, what's going on? Like, if you want change, you have to elect change. You can't elect the same dumb people who can barely add 1 and 1.
Judy, the voter suppression has really worked big time to their advantage. I look at Wisconsin, and it's even Steven as far as Democrats and Republicans as the registered voters, but they're super majorities pretty much in the legislatures because of voter suppression and gerrymandering. So, you know, it's pretty scary, don't you think?
It's terrifying. And I think the base of the problem is, as you say, is voter suppression, the elections, gerrymandering. Yeah, Wisconsin is a good example because, as you say, the legislature is way out of whack with how the population votes just because of gerrymandering. And you know, the Supreme Court, there was a case out of Wisconsin claiming that gerrymandering based on political boundaries. I don't know, my law school professor was the lead plaintiff. I can't remember exactly how it went, but the Supreme Court said that they could not get involved in that kind of issue, which is ridiculous. So yeah, I think that the way to attack the problem is to resist the voter suppression laws. I'm wondering if this, will they overreach? Will people react against abortion bans? Well, they are, but will that cause people to vote in a certain way? Will they react against book bans? Sometimes I think the best way to get a kid to read a book is to ban it. But so is it possible that we will get a counter reaction? And assuming that voting has not become so difficult that we can't manage it, could a counter reaction save us? I guess that's what I keep hoping, that we're just not going to put up with this.
I think you're right, but it has to be shown over several election cycles. You know, we could look at 2020 where Biden, you know, barely beat Trump, and then we look at 2022, and you know, Republicans get control of the House, but then you know, Fetterman won in Pennsylvania, so a Democrat won the Senate. But I really think that this has to be over a multitude of election cycles. Pat, what do you think? Democracy toast?
I think we are in a systemic failure. I mean, we are a failure in our education. We have all, and I know there are good homeschool situations, but most of the ones are it's weaponizing the children against public education, against people that don't look like them. They're weaponizing the school boards, taking out things like books, doing book banning, the whole have to use, who's going to check to see if you're going to the bathroom that you were assigned at birth? You know, come on, who's going to be standing there figuring it out? But
Some
you know,
pervert.
just those kinds of threats. But it's a systemic failure we're in now. Voter suppression is part of the systemic failure. I mean, and I agree with you, we need to talk with people, but under what circumstances do we get to talk to people about these kinds of things? We don't have a good system of setting up an opportunities for people to have conversations. You know, go to the Palmer City Council and hear the crap that people spew there. I mean, even the borough assembly, go to, you know, just, we are in systemic failure. And I think in order to attack it, we have to think about it like as they did. It needs to be a ground up thing about getting people together. I think we have a chance with I was just reading about whoever the youngest group is, the Gen, whatever they are, voted more than they expected. That's why they're trying to suppress votes on college campuses.
Right.
We need to get them together and help them and work with them, keep them going, support them in their efforts, because they're the ones that are going to save it. You know, but we have to think systemically. We cannot just think that there's one thing that's going to answer to this, but there's all these things that are working together to destroy the opportunity for people to be people and to be respected by the people in their community and to earn a living and to be able to eat and to have a place to live and have health care and all those kinds of things that I think are vital to have people even be able to begin to think. They have to be able to be at that lowest level of the Maslow's hierarchy before they can move up to the higher ones. So we've got a lot of work to do, but we have to think systemically. And I don't have an answer because I don't know how. I mean, my answer partly is always schooling, because I think schooling is. I think you can get people to think when you have them captive like that, but now they're trying to destroy that too. So I don't know, but we
I
can't
think what
shut
you're
up. We can't
saying,
stop.
I think what you're saying is that we need to organize the groups in a way that competes with the way the Republicans have managed to organize their groups. They were very successful in organizing their like-mindedness with, the
Action.
evangelical churches and other ways they got together, Chamber of Commerce, whatever. And the systemic failure I think you're referring to is the fact that we have failed to get together in an organizational fashion. We relied too heavily on the Democrats, and they haven't done shit.
It's not the Democrat. I mean, I'm the Democrats.
I know.
It's not the Democrats. It's us. It's the people. We need. I don't think it's the Republicans. I think there's people telling the Republicans what to do. I think it's the Heritage Foundation and the Koch brothers and all those people. I think they are the ones that are getting all of that started outside of it, and funding it and buying people. I mean, I don't think that the Republicans are that smart, frankly.
Well, they've managed to gerrymander and voter suppress themselves into supermajorities. You look at Kentucky, you look at Wisconsin, you look at North Carolina. They all have Democratic governors and supermajority Republican legislatures because the statewide elections are voting for the Democrat.
I know.
And the gerrymandered districts are getting the supermajorities in their legislative branches. Hey, panel, what a great discussion. Thanks so much. Pat, Judy, Merrick, and all you out there in Cyberland listening, stay tuned and see you next time.